We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this country of Canberra, the Ngunnawal people on Ngambri land. We also acknowledge the Tongan High Commissioner here in Canberra, Her Royal Highness Princess Tufunga. We welcome all of you today to this program of the series of public lectures, Lo'au public lecture, and of course this is the first one in English, and it's already been done in the Tongan language. I'll just leave it to Professor Siosiua Lafitani, who is here with me, to tell you the topics. Fata, the essence of Tongan arts, Me'atu Faiva, material arts. That is the topic today. I'm sorry. And as I did say to you, this is the first public lecture in English. This has already been done in Tongan. So this is part one of material arts. Fata, the essence of Tongan arts, Me'atu Faiva. Thank you.
Thank you, Luseane. And before because I'm going to run this by PowerPoint, but thank you for the introduction. It's the first time for us to do this series, and for you to interview my thoughts and what I was talking about in this first public lecture in the Tongan language. So as Luseane said, so we will try our best to present to you from Luseane's side and from my side. She's going to ask a few questions, and I will try to answer as we go through the PowerPoint. But Luseane, before we continue on to the PowerPoint section part, I'd just like to share with our audience some of the terms, their meanings before we continue on. Fata is a concept in Tonga, is about square, and it's about when four people, to be simple, to be in simple terms, when four people carry a person of high in rank, a chief or a king, the Fata concept comes out from that carrying of the chief or the king by it can be four people or more. So the four people with the four corners form the square that we call Fata, and we have Fata in Kalia, double hall Canoe. We have Fata in the house, in the Whaletonga, and in few other parts of our material arts. But my public lecture here is a view or a claim that Fata is the essence of Tongan arts. We can see Fata throughout Tongan arts, not only in material arts, but also in performing art, in whaiva, and also in fine arts, nima mea. Here is the Tongan. Mea tu whaiva is the Tongan word that we come up with, Luseane. That's the Tongan word. It's a Tongan word for art. Because in Tongan culture, there is no Tongan word for art itself or for art. We have a word for material arts, Tufunga, whaiva for performing arts, whaiva, and then fine arts, nima mea. But we don't have the word art itself. So this is the word we come up with, and we decided this is the, Luseane suggested that this is the appropriate and better Tongan word in our search for a Tongan word for arts. And Tufunga, as I mentioned before, this is part 1, Tufunga 1, Material Arts 1. But we're going to continue on. I'll keep it back to Luseane if she wants to say something before we continue on to the
well, I guess it's good to
parts, yeah.
have an idea of what Fata means and to carry, Fata to carry, and it's also a noun in the way that it's the square on top of maybe the royal tombs, on the top of a canoe, or the top layer beams of a Tongan fale. So there we go. I think we have a little idea,
and it will come as we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess we can go now to your PowerPoint, and let's have a look and have a discussion about what that is.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to the PowerPoint, and here we are. Again, our topic there is Fata, the essence of Tongan arts, Tufunga. What I would like us, Luseane, to start with.
So, what is your idea of showing up all these? I guess it's Polynesia, it's Pacific Islands, it's or Australasia or New Zealand's also there. So, what are you saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying, Luseane, is this is the beginning. Fata is or was an old concept, and it started when we started to build our society in Tonga, or the societies of the islands. And it's something to do with it relates to migration. That's why I showed the areas earlier in the areas migration.
So are you saying that this is a shared concept throughout Micronesia, Melanesia and Polynesia?
It can
Australasia?
be.
Is that what you're saying, that Fata was used by all these people?
In certain cases, Fata was used by all of them.
Okay.
Like in the building, in the house, like of carrying a high chief. So it's there. It was there in some of these places, or all of them. And Fata can be also a universal concept, Luseane. So we'll continue on.
Yes, please.
But this is to do with the pottery, the clay pottery of the Lapita migration, how we were settled. So we'll continue on. This is okay. It's just the title, but we'll go on from there to. I have with material arts, Luseane. I have classified it into 6 ages. In the case of Tonga, I'm talking here in the case of Tonga, and I will relate it to Moana in general and worldwide. But this is a new classification of the ages of material arts. Is my first contribution to this topic. And ages of material arts mea tu'ufaiwa in Tonga. So the first age, what I call age of Canoe and Hunuki hut. But I'll explain Hunuki later. But it's roughly from 8,000 BC or prior to 2000 BC. So that's why I showed the map before, because as I go through, it will relate to the early settlement of the Pacific.
And it's quite, as you can see, everyone can see that it's quite self-explanatory. You've got it there quite clearly. The ages and the years, which is great.
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
So if we can go through.
I'll go through and then you can...
the Hunuki hut, if you were going to say, can you give us an idea? I know I sat in on a seminar about the Hunuki hut, from what I remember, people arrive and, quickly put up a hut.
Yeah. This is Hunuki hut. This is how...
It looks like a triangle being just... pierced into the ground.
Just try,
yes.
It's
quick.
Triangle. Like this one. That's But we'll go
That's a
back
good
again
point.
because we will come and talk more about this in how I look at it.
If we have time.
Yeah, so age of
Clay.
the second age of clay pottery or lapita. It's roughly from 2000 BC until 1 AD or 0, but normally they say 1 AD, the year of Christ. So this is how I classify. Number 3, age of mound, age of seer. That's when I believe we started to build seer mound for building houses and so forth. But number 4, age of stone masonry. Roughly, so age of mound goes from 1 AD to 1080, or to the 11th century. And there are a lot of evidence, Luseane, that can add in and can relate to all these claims of mine. So number 4 is age of stone masonry, so from roughly 1000 or 11th century till 17th century. And number 5, age of iron metal, when European arrived, until 1970 in these divisions. And then the number 6, age of information and technology, from 1970 until now.
Well, I guess you can say that age of iron and metal is still ongoing.
Certainly.
So it'll be 1700 AD to ongoing, just like age of information technology, 1970s, and still ongoing, as we know.
It's still,
Okay.
but
All
with
right.
the emphasis of the days. Okay, do you have any question? Or we
No,
continue?
I think it's quite, yes.
So this is H1, number 1, age of Canoe and Hunuki hut. As I show you, the Hunuki hut. Hunuki is just, is a Tongan word when you just
Poke something
poke
into
something
the ground.
That's what
Yes.
we call Hunuki. And they put on two coconuts, one coconut from the
One coconut?
one coconut leaves from this side, one coconut leaves from,
yes.
and a few sticks,
Makes
as you have shown.
a very
as I have
small,
shown,
very portable hut.
But this is what I believe that were very strong in those days, between 8000 BC to 2000 BC. Canoe and Hunuki hut construction were very strong, and people experienced different way of building them, and the canoe and the Hunuki hut. And this is a time of settlement, mainly in Pulotu. What I refer to Pulotu is Viti or Fiji and Melanesia. And I believe there were material fine arts, drawing and geometric patterns already developed. There are evidence for that as well, but I won't
Worldwide too. Yes.
and worldwide.
Forever.
And then I do believe performing arts, chanting, dances, percussions in different ways were already developed.
Yes.
But that's the first age.
I think I remembered someone saying, once human beings arrive on this earth, they start humming and singing.
Yeah.
So wherever they are, they have some form of chanting or singing or humming.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one.
So next one we go to age of clay pottery, around but nothing much, not much difference from this age to the previous one, as it shows, as it shows there, material fine arts of clay pottery, was developed. Pulotu and Moana. Moana for me is the expansion, the concept of Mama, Lolofonua, Earth, Lolofonua, underworld, and Langi sky were developed together with Pulotu, and Moana with Mama, Lolofonua, and Langi. For me, they were the expansions of us, of the new migrants, the Lapita people or the Moanan people, which originally Tongans and Samoans. But Pulotu, as I mentioned in number 1, is about
Fiji
and
Yes,
Melanesia.
yeah.
Material fine arts, drawing and geometric patterns was continue to develop, and performing arts the same thing. So this what I believe was happening during the age of clay pottery. We continue. Do you have any question?
No, I think as I said, I think the art of drawing,
Mm.
as we've known from other civilizations, people just started drawing
Yeah.
for, wherever it started.
Started.
So I guess whoever arrived, if it is the Lapita people who arrived in Tonga, they already had their arts and drawings and pottery anyway. They just brought it with them, So performing arts, I believe, starts from way back when.
Yeah.
But that's good. So
Yeah,
what are
so
we...
number 3 now, age of Mound Constructions, when they started to build mound and to build house on the top of mounds, which as I said before, it's around 180 to 1000 AD. And these points, the same points that I mentioned before.
So what gave you the idea that these started then? Is it because of archaeological findings that
certainly
that put an age to the mound?
Yeah,
the Sia?
The age of Mound Construction. Yeah, it's from archaeological anthropological and also from oral traditions. And it shows in our myths and traditions concepts like Sia and some other related concepts that were developed from happening around these times, like Apasia, Mokosia, Fuesia. It shows from our archaeological findings with Dr. Spanament, most of the oldest settlement, they were Sia. Always there are mounds, there are Sia around in those areas that I'm talking about the case of Tonga here in particular.
And then the next one? Number 4, Age of Stone
Masonries, which I believe to be, and this goes simultaneously with the empire. There's a new thing there coming up here. Where's the empire? Did I mention it? Anyway, it started around this. I will talk about it later, but because I will come back to this age and talk about them in details. I'm not sure.
So you've got in there in all your points or your ages.
The list.
You've got material fine. You've got those 3 things or 4 things actually, in all of those. So I guess they were just ongoing.
Yeah, and here material fine arts, house and double hull canoe, which I believe that also developed during this time together with this, because this is the time the Tongan Empire was founded and started to expand. More new houses like the Whare Whamanuka and Whare Whakawhisi from Fiji and Samoa appeared in the scene, and also the Karia was well constructed and developed around this time of the age of stone masonry. And when we talk about our prehistory, most of the story about stone constructions happened around or between 1000 and 7000, 17,000. We continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, and okay, number 5, Age of Iron Metal.
I guess that's the intervention happened.
Yeah, and
yes,
from
yes,
was marked strongly or mostly by the Age of Iron Metal.
Don't you think that with the earlier explorers that came from Spain and France and those people, which was way before 1700, I think the 13th century, 14th, 15th century, don't you think that they would have introduced iron and metal then when they visited the islands? Like some of those earlier explorers came in the 1600s.
Yeah, 16. That's the hang on, the 17,000.
Because there's the Spanish and, you know, like...
in the 16th.
They came earlier.
Yeah.
And they would have brought their...
Yeah.
You know, they would have introduced iron.
Of course,
metal
yeah. Because I started in the 17th century, but you were right, yeah. But what I put here, Lucy, is the time or the period of time that mostly that something is mostly well known and concentrated, yeah. Because until the 17th century, that's when we started to use and talk more and more of the metal materials were introduced into Tonga. Of course, there were some in the 1600 and so forth when some of the
absolutely that was when it was introduced. So
yeah. But I'm talking. But what my
I guess it doesn't really matter how much they used it, but it was then introduced.
Yeah.
You know, earlier on.
Yeah, because it can like all the ages like this one. It's a rough period of time where I believe that mostly that particular things was so obvious. Eh? Okay, but you were right. Yeah.
So the next one.
We'll continue on. Okay.
Which we've talked about this already. What Fata is to carry.
Okay, what is Fata? To carry, to revere, these are additional meanings that are meaning I would like to add into what is Fata in the sense that I explained before. So to carry, to revere, to protect, safeguard, to lead, also is a center of things, and as we go, I can explain that more, and in future public lectures on material arts, and also a world view to life. Lucy, do you want to ask any questions here?
No, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, because it's okay, eh?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we'll continue on. Here is
we've seen this
here
also.
Is humu, fata, faliki, humu, floor, fata. This is what I call fata faliki, or humu. Humu is the words was common in various things in Tonga, especially in arts. And humu is triangle. So Fata, this is as in this case of Fale Hunuki, this is Fale Hunuki. We don't have Fata here. Where is the Fata here? There is no Fata here. Because of the nature of the Fale Hunuki, the Fata is where the person sits on.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, it's the floor. That's why I call Fata floor. Floor Fata. For me, the concept of Fata to carry, there's nothing there to carry, there's nothing there to sit on a square because of the nature of the Fale Hunuki. What happens there, people or the person here, as I put here, sit on the floor. So for me, Fata is the floor, which forms the humu, the triangle.
Even though there's no flooring, as we can see. It's just sitting on the grass. So there isn't flooring there.
Here in this case, you can see here. No, this one is the grass, but the idea is there is a mat there, like this one here. There's something there for them. There's a mat or whatever, tapa for them to sit on, and that thing is the Fata. In this sense, in this case of the Fale Hunuki. Do you want
No. Now that is Fata, eh? That is a big group of people.
So as we go from there to here, this is, one can say that this is one of the original meaning of Fata. Eh? Fata tangata. Eh? People carry, this is, with great respect, this is Tupo the Fifth. When these are the Kaufata, the Tangata, the Kawala, the Kaufata, different names.
These are the men who carried him.
To Malaikola, to the Royal Cemetery. Eh? But just to give you, this is the poteke, the post. This can go up and build like a house. Eh?
Well, that is the covering of that. That's the central covering of that, which is 4 posts called the poteke. And it has a roof on top.
But,
which is called the ato and taolunga, the top.
That's how they build from the Fata. Whatever Fata, in this case, the corpus of the king, or Fata, any living persons. But the whole idea that we have here, human male Fata, and the potangata, human post, a male post, or whatever you call it, Fata tangata, carry. But this is the whole concept here.
Human carriers.
Human carriers, yeah.
Oh.
We also have ribs here. In our case, is Fata. We call it Fata. The ribs of whatever, human.
Fata.
And that's how we got Fata. But Fata there can go to the meaning. As we go through, we can see that it fits in with some of these meanings. To carry, to revere, Fata, to protect, safeguard, like in this case. In here is to protect and safeguard the body of the king, the corpus. In here we have Fata, to protect. It fits in with the senses that I have shown above. And here again is the Fata, and normally Matapule is sitting here, but it's the same funeral, royal funeral. So we have here the Sia. This is the Sia, Lucy. And we have the Fata Faliki. There's someone sitting here on the Hunuki. I just created this just to reflect this, this is Sia, and there are thousands of Sia throughout Tonga, everywhere.
So what is the why is there are Falika a house there? What's your why have you put a house, but not a house, a Fale Hunuki there at the Sia? Because it's
just to give the idea of how they build a Fale or a Tongan hut on the top of Sia. Not Fale Hunuki only, they develop it to Fale Manuka, but this is just to show how a house can be built on the top of the Sia.
And some of those Sias were left with nothing on top, which it may also suggest that Sia was a burial ground, because nothing was on it.
Yeah, there are different kinds of Sias. That's right. There are burial. There are Sia for chiefly games like the Heulupe.
Yes.
But I'm just putting there to show this is how the Sia looks if you settle on the top, or in the case of settlement. But as you correctly said, there are different kind of Sia, for different purposes. But I call this Fata Faliki and Fata Po. It can be built here. We have the Fata Faliki, as in the case of Fale Hunuki or Fale Hunuki here, and we have the Fata Po, Fata Po like this one, and Fata tangata. But we'll continue on, eh? This is the Hamonga Maui Motua Truthon. This is Fata Po, post Fata Faliki. Just to give, Fata can be on the floor if there is no post, and Fata can be on the top. That's how I look at it. Eh? And
well, I guess what I'm looking at is the explanation you've given us about Fata, meaning to carry, to support, to, whatever. The floor bit, I'm still confused as to why a flooring would be called Fata Faliki. I can understand the other Fata, that's the post and the top bit, because they're holding, carrying something. But there's just a floor on the Faliki, on the ground. I can't see what why that would be called a Fata too. So can you tell me why you decided to say that there's such a thing as Fata Faliki?
Yeah, because one sense of Fata that I try to explain, that it's a seating place, where someone can be protected, because like the Hunuki here, there is no Fata there in the form of the house. And the Fata here, because with this Hunuki we formed the humu, the concept of triangle, or in Tongan it's called humu. It can fit in with the Hunuki, the structure of it. Humu, the concept of humu that forms a part of the Fata. Triangle, as I will explain later, formed Fata, formed square. Mathematically speaking, and that's why I claim that Fata here is just the floor that protect, that carry the person whoever is inside the Hunuki.
Thank you.
And as it goes here, Lucy, you can go from here to up here, and we can apply the same idea.
That's very obvious, being on top, that you would be there. That's the thing Fata. You're being carried up there. That's highly obvious to me. Okay, so that's that Fata, and there we have the Kalia.
We have the Kalia.
The Fata.
That's
also
the same concept of Fata here.
Yes.
They are on the top here, over there. I call it, where's the name I put there? It's not there. Anyway, Fata Toka or Fata Faliki, because there is no post. The Kalia here is just on the hammer. The Kalia is on the top of the two house. So it's more like the Fata Faliki here, or on the top there.
It's very clear on the Kalia.
Yeah, it's very that's what I meant. That I'm trying to explain, but I think it will show us as we continue.
Thank you.
Here. So in here, the Faliki here, this is Fata Po. But the people here,
it's a very clear Fata too. You can see it all.
So he's on the top there, that guy there, I put him there. And this is the Fata here and the four post. And in my concept of Fata Faliki, they are on Fata as well, But this is a very clear, This is much clearer, Again, this is Fata Toka, is the royal tombs, the langi.
There's certain pictures that really show from the top, looking down, eh? And you can see the clarity of the
clarity, eh? And this is what I meant. When we go back to here, and we come to here, it's the sitting, eh? And with this case, you have the triangle here, the humu here. Humu is called in Tongan triangle or tapatol, eh? So when we come to Hunuki, you have the same form, eh? And when you come to here, so why we don't have a pyramid? We only have step pyramid, eh? We don't have, if we included this part here, the triangle, the humu, we will have pyramid. But in our langi, in our royal tombs, there is no pyramid. It's only step pyramid. Eh? For me, why we didn't have step pyramid, it seems to me that the Tuitonga make up the pyramid. That's how our langi looks like if we visualize the Tuitonga sitting on the top. And that's where they live, that's where they are buried, on the top there. So they are the one that make up the pyramid out from the step pyramid, because we only have step pyramid simply means there is no complete pyramid. Yeah? And for me, this is how the Tuitonga reside and see. It was seated. He was the one that formed up by using this concept, this idea of humu, form up the whole of the Fata to make up for a pyramid. Yeah? Okay, this is Fata geometric pattern or kupesi. We can, some parts of the Fata here are shown and seen here on the Kula Umea, on the Lapita pottery. We have the Fata here, Fata of the Tuitonga, the royal tombs. Here is the abstract drawing in a geometrical form of the Fata here. Symbols for the Tuitonga, and with the Tuitonga, Fata is at the end the symbol of the Tuitonga. Fata and humu. Fata and humu always go together as symbol of the Tuitonga. We have Fata here, Fata Lalava, Kupesi. We have Fata here again on Kula Umea, different kinds of Kula Umea of Lapita pottery. So we come to the Hamong again with more details. We have here the Fata Faliki, as I referred to. And, you know, when I talk about the humu, two humu here form a Fata. And humu and Fata are very important in Tongan house and in the Hamonga and in the Alangi, the royal tombs. Eh? You always find the concept of humu there and Fata going together all the time. Eh? So I just put it here to reflect to portray and reflect the idea of how we have one humu, another humu add together, and we have the Fata Faliki. Eh? So we have the humu here. This is the humu here, which His late Majesty King Tupu'a IV mention or claim that the ha'amonga was the top part here was like a clock that shows
A sundial.
Mm.
A sundial.
Yeah, the humu,
Wasila
the toloa,
Mm.
and I'll just put, because humu and toloa goes together in our myths and also in our constellations, and they are here, but I will talk about it in some other. Wasla there, Fata po, Fata. This is the Stonehenge in Britain, without cross-lap join. I forgot to mention that only our ha'amonga worldwide that have this. Look at this cross-lap join there. There is no.
Yes.
Only us, and it's very unique worldwide. As I look around. With Trivifon, just 3 slabs putting together. Only us we have the cross-slab joint, which is so unique. And we developed that from our career, how we built our career and our house. So the same idea of that we use the cross-slab joint in our ha'amonga. As we come to the Stonehenge, no cross-lap joint, without. And here we have different kind of pyramid, with all Fata here, so essential, so fundamental. Fata here, the Fata concept here, in their own terms, they all of these civilizations, ancient civilizations, they have the same kupesi, Fata kupesi in their own ways, like in our case. So it's a sign for me of old civilization that was well developed and ended up building or part of building pyramids was part of their work, and it was shown in our case as well. I think, Lucy, that's the end of this presentation. I'll leave it for you if you would like to ask some more questions.
Well, I think they're all pretty self-explanatory, and the Fata concept was just not unique to us. It was a worldwide concept, and it's amazing because it was done by the big civilizations, and we are part of that because we had that too. So it just goes to show how developed our culture was and our knowledge was, because even though we didn't travel to Egypt in, the year 1000 or, travel to India or wherever, but we were still doing the same thing in our little island, or in our islands, which tells me that a lot of the stuff, and I guess a lot of the learned ones have discussions now about how a lot of knowledge is shared by different cultures. The same knowledge, and same stories and same myths and legends are shared worldwide, with other cultures, but, lots of people have different explanations. But I think that's a very, that's a fabulous show of Fata and the uniqueness of our patterns and how it's being transferred to the Canoe, to the Kalia, to our Whaletonga, to our tapa, cloth ngatu designs, and it shows up in all things like our ancient tombs, ancient royal tombs. This Fata concept is just all the way through our arts, material arts and buildings and stone masonry. So yes, I don't have any more to add, Siwa, unless you have something else you want to finish off this program with.
Yeah, again, Lucy, I think that's what I have decided and to share in this particular interview with you, or in the public lecture in its English language is it's a work that I have developed, and I would like to share, some of the concepts here and some of the views that I believe that that are required to add into to some of the topics that evolve around here, both in the Tongan language and also in the English. But malo albito, I'll give it back to you. I think that's all that I would like to share in this case.
Thank you, everyone, for spending the time in this discussion, and it's always, I guess, encouraged that if anyone has comments, other ideas, please put them through on our Facebook page. Thank you for listening to us today. Have a wonderful weekend, and until the next lecture. Thank you. Malo.
Malo abito, kamo mea.